Good morning, everyone. How goes it? It's a little bit chilly outside, so I put on my vest. But I haven't made any outdoor videos in a while, and I really like the summertime because I can make the outdoor videos, and they're much more inspirational than sitting in a dark room. But, Pacific Northwest, cold winters, what do you do? At least for now, cold winters. Who knows what the future will bring? I wanted to talk a little bit today about judgment, since it's the first thing that popped into my head when I decided to make a video. I did a little bit of thinking about what I wanted to convey here. I guess when I say a little bit of thinking, I mean I spent about 30 seconds thinking about it. But I was thinking about how we judge one another based on, it was probably from somebody talking about smokers. I made a vaping video, and they were talking about how people judge smokers and tell them they should quit. And I totally can relate to that. I was a smoker for 25 years, and I heard it from everyone. And I'll tell you, there's nothing... The worst is when you walk up to a 7-Eleven clerk and buy a pack of cigarettes, and they give you a kind of a scoff, give you your cigarettes and say, you know these things kill you. I mean, I've had a few people actually say that. And I'd love to play the game like, what? Where'd you hear this? You know, are you serious? Whoa! And I've even gone in this like little tangent about it. You know, buying into their little game. I did quit smoking 2 years ago and started vaping. And vaping has really helped me. But anyway, back to judgment. I wanted to get to the reason why I'm mentioning that is just because smokers are quite judged for what they do. And most of the smokers know that they're potentially doing damage to themselves. And most smokers know they probably shouldn't have started. Now there are smokers out there who say, oh, I love smoking and I never want to quit. But that's just their way of dealing with the fact that they know they're doing damage to themselves. That's just justification. I don't think that any intelligent smoker thinks this is healthy for me. What it is it's an option they're willing to weigh. And so to get into the judgment part, judging a person by what they do, if it's not harming other people, is something that's only going to push people apart further. So I wanted to, before going on and on about judgment, I wanted to get to the main point here, which is what is worth judging people on. Because let's say, for example, I make YouTube videos. I've been making them for 5-6 years now. Probably made upwards of 4,000 videos. And in that time, I have been judged so many times. I mean, endless judgments, you know. Whether it be somebody talking about my hair or my clothes or the background, or you should be more professional, or don't try to be so professional, or, you know, you should edit your videos, or don't edit your videos, or whatever it might be. These are judgments, not always judgments, sometimes ideas or, you know, opinions, but judgments people make about others by the clothes they wear or the situation they're in, you know, those are just worth just letting go. I mean, it's not even worth arguing with a person like that. I mean, would you really try to defend your choice of your clothing, or even judging people on the way they look, their genetic makeup, you know? But this, you know, this is something that's it's nothing new. We've been judging people by their skin color, you know, from the beginning of, you know, society and before. And I would say that that's kind of a natural tendency to judge each other based on culture or on race or on religion, because we want to protect ourselves. So we think by judging others and making them look bad, then we can make ourselves feel better about our choices. Because when we see that other people have different opinions, if it's an opinion that we believe to be true, and I'll take religion as this one, a Christian who has grown up in a Christian community and assumes that most of the world is religious or Christian, that there are more Christians than there are in the world, and then they get out in the world and see that there really aren't as many as they thought, and that the Christians are a minority. And then let's say they start judging other religions by saying, oh, these people have been fooled or deluded by Satan or whatever it might be. And definitely don't want to get into religion or politics here, but another example would be political, where a person says, you believe in healthcare. Oh, well, you're a socialist, communist, and they just label. because labels come with judgments. And so really it's a matter of how much can we stand behind our opinions. So as I believe is my belief system, if you will, is a temple. You know, not only is my body a temple, but my mind is a temple. And in the sense that I'm building up what matters to me from the foundation up. And if one brick in that foundation is loose, the whole thing can come tumbling down. Now, a lot of people will patch in those bricks, you know, they'll try to cover it up, and they'll say, well, I may not be quite sure about this, but instead of trying to find the truth, I'm just going to berate everybody else who tries to call out that flaw in thinking. For me, is the truth the most important, crucial aspect of being human? No, it's not. There may have been a time when I believed that. We're living in the post-truth era now, especially with the current election and what's happening. All of a sudden, everyone's a liar. Every politician's a liar. The news is a liar. Every friend is a liar. Everybody's a troll. Everybody's a shill. Everybody's out to get you. When the fact is 99% of the people just want to live their life and they don't give a damn about fooling you or what you think. But it's easier to think the world's out to get you than to admit that maybe we haven't done enough crucial research into the aspects of what we want to believe or what we think is true. But when it comes to judgment, often that's a byproduct of us not being sure about ourselves. We find somebody else has a different opinion and we judge them on it because we don't want to hear it, because it's uncomfortable. So setting that aside and setting our little personal beliefs aside, the question that I want to get to is, what is worth judging people on? And when should we call each other out and judge one another? Are there any legitimate times? Of course there are. I would say that it's almost as if we need to make a chart about things that can be judged. Now, this is going to be subjective too, and I realize that. It's going to be personal. You know, for me, judging people who are abusing others, that's a perfect example. Judging a person who beats their children, or beats their wife, or harms other people, or goes out and, let's say, the hooligan groups. You know, let's say, you hear the term hooligan, but a lot of people don't realize where it comes from. There are actually hooligan groups in, say, Russia. And during the last Olympics, I think the ones in Greece, they went over there and they would have these hooligan groups, like 5 to 10 people, and they would go select somebody and just beat the shit out of them. Not somebody who's looking for a fight, just a random person, just beat the shit out of people, and that's what they do. And there was a Vice episode where they interviewed a bunch of them, you know, and these are people that need to be judged. These are people who are harming others in the name of their own excitement. So there's one group. People who harm other people for their personal gain, or for any reason, need to be judged. So what about, move on to wealth? What about rich people? Should you judge people just because they're rich? Now, absolutely not. You know, there was a time in the past when I was younger where I may have thought that anybody who's a billionaire, you know, needs to be judged. They should give their money up. They should donate it to charity, and a lot of them do, but a lot don't. Ultimately, whatever money you make, that's your choice. However, if that money is coming at the cost of inside trading where individuals are losing their stocks and their investments, such as all of us peon workers investing in stocks, and then somebody on the inside is able to sell that stock off, make a huge profit off of it, and basically buy and sell governments like Warren Buffett, guys like him. Well, Warren Buffett is one of the richest men in the world, and when he makes a decision, people listen. Countries lose their income, you know, their actual value of their money can decline because of a decision he makes or what he believes. But on the other hand, there's another side to it. Warren Buffett has pledged 90% of his money to charity, and he's already given $40 billion, I believe, to foundations to help people around the world. And I know a lot of people think, oh, that's just, people can't believe that a person would actually give away that kind of money. But from an individual perspective, if you have that much money and you have any conscience whatsoever, you're going to want to do something good with it. So we can't just judge a person just because they're rich, but we can judge a person based on how they get rich or what they choose to do with their money if they're putting it into subverting others, like the Koch brothers, anything for profit. But they're individuals too, and I don't want to get into that politics of that. The real judgments should come to those who are harming other people. And I would stop short of saying you should judge people for harming themselves. I would say it's more important not to judge, but to consult and console and to help people, and to let us all know that we're all in the same fucking boat, pardon my language, but every one of us wakes up and has to go about our days the same way. And the image that we have in our minds of what other people are thinking or how other people are behaving, or what they should be doing or what they should be believing, those are all tied into our subjective views that are based on our personal programming. And nobody out there has the same programming as you. You may have grown up in the same family, with the same school, the same groups, same friends, and one life event just changes your whole perspective on things. I'd like to say that there could be a future where, where no one is judgmental and everyone's acceptant, but that's not realistic. Nature is not... I would say nature is a process in itself, but it's not what we would deem to be a peaceful process. It's creation, destruction, renewal, cycles within cycles. And to embrace those cycles and to realize that when we're at our lowest point, it's the easiest to judge other people, because it helps to either bring them down to our level or make us seem bigger than we are. And when we're at our greatest and feeling the best, we're much less likely to judge other people. So perhaps those who are doing the judging are just in the worst states of mind, that they can't cope with what they have going on in their own lives. And I'm not talking about just seeing a person and judging them once a day or once a week, or, our general, first impressions of people. But rather to sit and think about, this person should not be doing that, or this person should be doing this, And so I've come to my own conclusions in life, and I'm still working on them. I'm only 41. I barely made it into what I consider to be my fruitful or insightful years. Looking back on what I thought I knew 10 years ago, I was just an idiot. And 10 years before that, I was just an idiot. And 10 years from now, I'll look back on today and say, well, I was an idiot. Hopefully not, and that's what I'm trying to avoid, by saying that by respecting that I was at where I was at in my life due to the circumstances that prevailed. I'm not going to blame my father dying for me not trusting people for a while, and I'm not going to blame, losing my house and all my stuff in a fire, when I was 15. That was right after my dad died, And I just think about these little things that happen to me that were big things that can really devastate a person. And some people are much more fragile and they can't cope. So over the last 5 years, I'd say about 5 years, one thing I've really worked on, and this is the only advice I can really give in regards to how to live without worrying about material items or possessions or what might happen, is to picture yourself thrown out on the street naked. Now, if your house burned down, theoretically, and you lost everything you own, and I don't want to get into the family aspect of that because nobody wants to lose loved ones, but I'm just talking about materials. If you were to be thrown out with everything, without anything, in the street, naked, how would you fare? Would you kill yourself and just say, it's over, I've lost all my wealth, I've lost everything I worked for? Or would you just start over and say, oh well, and go for it? And that's the mindset I put myself in. It's prepping, but prepping the mind, Some people can say what people call themselves preppers, who stock up dried food and ammo and all types of, bomb shelters, whatever you might want. They're preparing for a future that may or may not happen, but really it's a matter of contentment of knowing that they're prepared. And, 7 or 8 years ago, I was very into preparing. I have a bunch of dried food and stuff that I wanted to have in case anything happened. And then I set it aside on the shelf, it's like a 20-year shelf life, like those big 5-gallon buckets of dried food, and said, well, now I'm prepared. Now what? Now I need to get mentally prepared for anything that might happen. So if society collapses tomorrow, if everything I know, if my business falls apart, my home falls apart, whatever, as long as I still have love in my life, I'll be a happy person. I know that. It's hard to not be attached to those you love, so I won't even include people in this, because ultimately as humans we're emotional creatures and we have bonds, but we are going to lose people in our life, And I lost my father at 15, and I think that put kind of tainted my experience with feeling remorse or empathy for people. You'd think that losing your father would give you more empathy for people who lose their parents or lose a loved one, but in fact it can actually have the reverse saying, well, we all have deaths in our life and we all learn to deal with it, and it kind of numbs you to it. As a 15-year-old skateboarding kid who said, no, I don't want to go see him in the hospital, and I'm fortunate that I didn't have to deal with that aspect of it, watching him die. But that's because no matter how strong we try to be, we're fragile creatures, mentally. But we're also strong creatures, and we can also make it through a lot of turmoil. And those who have suffered the most tend to have the best outlook on life, in my opinion. I've seen too many interviews and had discussions with people who have really had rough childhoods, rough lives, people who came here from war-torn countries and started businesses and worked their fucking asses off, just to make it by, minding their own business, and then they get judged by, let's say, an American because, oh, you're not from this country, or, go back to your own country, even if it's a person who was born here and their parents were born here. We're just so quick to judge because we're uncomfortable seeing somebody else in a position that maybe we could be in, or seeing somebody else work hard and feeling like we're not working hard, and that's not always the issue, but I'm just, our preconceived notions about what should be right and what is true are what set the stage for our judgments. So try not to judge, and if you are going to judge those who deserve it, those who are harming other people, not those who choose to live a certain way, because we're all a little bit eccentric in our own ways. Peace. Namaste. Ciao. Goodbye. Talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful day.